Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, Karen forced me to join HOA by faking my signature. I sued them. I always thought that there were bro codes or something among close guy friends, but apparently my ex-best friend and neighbor didn't get that memo. I lived in a neighborhood with some smaller homes, but they were located in a nice area that suited a social, single guy like myself. The place was perfect, lots of bars and restaurants, and it was close to my work. Not to mention, my next-door neighbor, Andrew, turned out to be the same age as me and had the same interests. We hit it off immediately and started hanging out together, and he and I would have get-togethers with friends. Drinking beers and cooking out, that type of stuff. That was until one of our mutual friends, Rachel, became a love interest for both of us. Me and Andrew had been pretty close friends for over a year, and I was surprised to find out that he liked Rachel. Especially when she and I had been seeing each other for a few weeks before he said anything. Andrew's behavior changed and he stopped coming over every day and wasn't answering my texts. Eventually he told me why and asked me to leave him alone for a while. I was disappointed that he was upset, but I gave him his space. Meanwhile, the entire time that I've lived in this neighborhood I've been dealing with this one HOA board member and her harassment. You see, I actually don't belong to the HOA because I was fortunate enough to actually have a seller that also didn't sign on for them to dictate his every move. As a matter of fact, I was warned by the seller at our closing on the house that I needed to watch out for her and the HOA. He said that they were snakes that would do anything to conform the entire neighborhood to their stupid rules and jurisdiction. Honestly, I thought he was a little weird and maybe crazy at the time, but I immediately understood what he meant when I moved in. In the first week, the crazy lady, let's call her Angie, started in on me with the HOA business. She started off sweet, kindly asking me to sign the HOA agreement like a Girl Scout troop selling me cookies. When I politely refused, that's when her eyes went wide and scary and she slowly demanded that I sign them. She said that I was one of the last ones that was interfering with everything. When Angie came back week after week I would, again, tell her that I didn't want to be a part of the HOA and to leave me alone. She didn't want to take no for an answer and continued to badger me, and eventually that turned into her trying to push me around by sending me fines anyway. Anytime I'd have a few friends over, grilling out, I'd have a letter in the mail the next day, stating that I'd violated their rules. Leaving my car in the driveway and not in the garage was a problem, or having my grass more than 2 inches tall was a crime. The color of my damn curtains was even mentioned in a letter. I fought their bullshit and their threats for 6 months when finally, their letters changed. All of a sudden they were stating that I was now part of the HOA and that I was under their jurisdiction. A mountain of fines came in a thick folder, nearly adding up to $5,000. When I called them on this, they were smug and rude, stating that I had indeed signed papers and sent them in. Specifically when asked, they said this was late last week. I definitely never received any papers, signed anything, or mailed a single letter in their direction. I demanded that they email a copy of the signed documents. I immediately went to work on finding a lawyer that was willing to help me on short notice with this issue. Which, to my surprise, was a tall order because lawyers don't like to deal with HOAs apparently. Upon receiving the mail with the signed papers, I realized right away that the signature wasn't mine. It was certainly my name, but it wasn't my penmanship. The lawyer looked over everything and decided that I had a fraud case against someone, but unfortunately not the HOA. But I wasn't liable for paying their fines because I didn't sign the papers. The HOA queen was super pissed, but she had to back down for now. I had installed cameras a few months prior because I was sick of seeing the HOA lady snooping around my property, trying to catch me doing something so she could send me more ridiculous fines. I assumed that it was her that forged my signature, but how would she know what it looked like? That's when I figured, well, if they said they mailed them to me, then there must have been someone who took them out of my mailbox. I went back through the video recordings of last week around when the documents should have arrived. That's when I finally saw it. It was Andrew. He had taken my documents out of the mail and back into his house. He did it smoothly enough that it was hard to see if he was getting his mail or mine, but if you slowed it down it was plain as day. I marched over to Andrew's house and started banging on the door. I figured he'd had enough space at this point. Andrew's face was shocked at first and quickly turned to anger, stating that I didn't have proof. When I told him that I had him on camera, I saw his eyes quickly look up, then closed out of frustration, like he forgot that the camera was there. When I also mentioned that he knew what my signature looked like after hanging out around me enough lately. And I could tell his handwriting as well. He only laughed and said that he did sign the HOA papers out of spite. He was still pissed about Rachel wanting to be with me and not him, and thought that this would be a pretty good form of revenge. Little did he know that I had my phone recording in my pocket the entire time, sealing his fate quickly. I took him to court, eventually getting out of the hold the HOA Angie had on me and suing Andrew for fraud. The judge seemed pretty surprised at the entire ordeal, and when my lawyer mentioned that this was all over a girl, he actually looked at Andrew and asked if he was serious and if he thought it was worth it. He got slapped with a heavy fine for taking mail out of my mailbox, and the judge said that he was letting him off easy. That same month I took the HOA to court for harassment and to have them take the lien off of my house. Something that they had done recently. The judge agreed quickly, especially after reviewing my case against Andrew. The HOA queen was not quite as self-controlled as Andrew was though, even getting herself kicked out of the little courtroom after she was heard calling the judge a blind, pig-faced idiot under her breath. At the end of the day, I got away with around $26,000 after my lawyer fees. It was a nice chunk of change, but I can't help but think that it was also really stupid that we had to do this at all. Andrew continued to be a jealous little bitch and would watch me whenever I had friends over again. Rachel and I continued to be together, and we're even engaged right now. We threw a huge engagement party at my place and put up wild decorations and cars parked up and down the street. I knew the HOA would love that. Oh, and I left them up for like a week. I even tied balloons to Andrew's mailbox just to rub it in his face. My trash cans were full after I finally cleaned everything up, so I decided to use his. There may have been some junk that made its way over to his yard as well. It was just the wind, I swear. Eventually Andrew moved instead of just apologizing and trying to be my friend again. A couple moved in, and we seem to get along pretty well so far. As long as they don't try to sign me up for the HOA, we should be fine. The next story is titled, Lady on Cruise Ship Gets Twisted Panties from Not Getting Her Way. I just got back from a cruise ship visit that was absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, my friend and I had an incident with this woman. Not surprising, she was entitled considering we were on a cruise. So, after one late night, I got up about mid-morning to hopefully snag a bed by the pool so we could chill in comfort. Sadly, all of them were occupied or had personal belongings on them, so I grabbed some front-row lounge chairs instead. There was one bed that only had a hat and sunglasses on it, so I kept an eye on it thinking maybe someone had accidentally left their things behind. It was just me at first, but 30 minutes later my friend arrived and there was still no one at that particular bed. We decided to grab it and move the stuff to the side after confirming with the neighboring bed that it wasn't theirs and no one had been there in a while. Ooh, did it feel nice to lay out in the sun. We were glad to get the bed, especially as the sun wasn't in our eyes at all. 30 minutes later, this woman in my periphery startles me. No surprise, as that is easy to do. She tells me she had left stuff here, so I told her it was on the other side. She grabs it, stands near me, and I can feel that huffiness rolling off her, so I asked her what's up. She starts telling me that she left her stuff behind, and it wasn't cool, it was touched. I simply told her that I watched the bed be unclaimed by a tenant for a while and that we wanted to enjoy the pool too. She said, well, I had more belongings here. I told her that she had a hat and sunglasses. Her response? Well, my towel was here too, and it was used. Like she thought we would take a used towel. Yuck. Why the duck would we do that when there were 2 towel replacement areas within 30 feet, lady? She then shares that she went to an acupuncturist appointment. Y'all, those take an hour. She seriously expected to keep her pool bed even though there's other people on the ship too, and that's what I told her, but as nice as possible. She did go away at that point, and my friend and I discussed how silly it was that she thought we'd use her towel and how she was entitled. After turning over I realized she was right behind us on lounge chairs, but whatever. She wasn't talking to us. She did eventually have a friend join her, and she started venting to her friend in English about the situation, but switched to Spanish once she was done. LMAO. I understand both anyway, but she wouldn't know that. We had brunch plans, so we were getting ourselves mentally prepared to go, though I did hear her again and it made me ornery, so we stayed a bit longer. Gathering our belongings, another woman approached and asked if we were leaving, and I was in the process of telling her yes, when the rude woman came over, started grabbing our towels, which we were leaving behind for her to deal with anyway, but she could have waited to do that, telling the other woman that we had stolen her bed. I said, "No, you left your hat and sunglasses while you went to the acupuncturist even though there's other people on this ship. Something y'all wouldn't know about me is that I'm comfortable in my body and my body hair." This woman points at my leg hair, telling me that the salon could take care of my situation. Y'all, I have long leg hair and armpit hair. If I cared, that shit would have been gone pre-cruise, but she was on the warpath trying to hurt my feelings. But I was aggravated in this day and age to have another woman comment on my body. I was prepared for a man to have a rude comment. I just told her it was my body, my choice to do with as I pleased. She responded that, "It's my body too. ... What? I didn't say jack squat about your body." Which I told her. We were up at that point, and I told her I hoped her day would get better. My friend was pissed as hell. She made a comment on my body, and on our way out, loudly called her a selfish bitch. Which she had proved to be. I realized that I left my sandals by the pool, so I went back to get them. I looked at our previous spot, and she wasn't even on the bed. She was still on the lounge chairs. WTF? Why was she not in the bed she so rudely decided was only hers in a public space? Whatever. I went and had an excellent egg benedict and mimosas. As we left the brunch location, we passed by her. She didn't even look at us, but my friend breathed down her neck since that's how she was with us. My friend is a trip, y'all. That's the end to my entitled people story. It was pretty sucking stupid on her part, but that's her bone to be upset on a beautiful cruise ship and amazingly sunny day. Later, the guy we had spoken to on the neighboring bed told us we were his heroes for taking back a spot that was so selfishly claimed. Hearing that was incredibly validating. People be peopling, always have, always will. The last story is titled, "Same board members who accepted prepaid building fees years ago, on video recording, bill me again for the same fees. Our HOA only needs to maintain 4-mile private mountain road, no buildings or other facilities." I could go into details, but let's just say it's all ducked up. Only 50 lots, many owners own more than one lot, about dozen homes built. Over 1/2 lots are absentee owners. A few Airbnb. Few years ago, I ran for board. Me, along with the owner who has dementia and brags about how she previously did personal bankruptcy, that's how she was able to buy the house and extra lot, and the other owner who claims to be an accountant but can't hold a job to save his life, and didn't know we had to file taxes. And the old patriarch who was responsible for everything being all ducked up for the last 2 decades and likes everything just how it is. Okay, us 4 make up the board. Well, basically it's just the old patriarch and me, because, well, the other 2 are dumber than a rock. It wasn't taken kindly that I wanted the HOA to have and publicize regular board meetings. I convinced them to let us record the Zoom meetings, for them to begin filing taxes. They hadn't in over a decade. For them to get liability insurance. Nope, never had any. The last one broke camel's back. I got 3 quotes from licensed road companies to fix our road. They didn't like that one bit, wanted to keep the road an unsafe shithole. So, they held anonymous, not secret, completely unidentifiable, ballot vote, in the middle of board term, and counted it themselves. Anyway, during my short tenure of about 8 months on the board, I did get them to raise the dues, from $200 per year to $400 per year, basically because $200 wasn't nearly enough to fix and maintain the road. We have no reserve fund. I also convinced them to start a builder fee to pay for some of the costs of damage to the dirt road with construction equipment. This builder fee was $500. I have 3 small vacant building lots here, and I voluntarily paid $1,500 back when I was on the board, so we could order some gravel. At the time, on recorded board meeting, I said I was reluctant to do this because someone's going to want me to pay again, and not understand I already paid. These board members said, on recording, that people could think whatever they want to think, but they know and appreciate it. Fast forward 2 years later, they still never had any other board votes or announced meetings, stopped recording anything, just send out bills once a year. I started building a small house on one of these 3 lots. Guess what I get? A builder fee for $500. Now, mind you, it's the exact same other 3 people I was on the board with before. Isn't that ironic? I just ignored it. I'm waiting for the dumb idiots to send a late notice or some stupid shit. I already got copy of my cancelled check and found the spot in the recorded meeting. Like, are they so stupid? They literally do not have the competence to manage billing and money. They not only try to do that poorly, but also try to be contractors themselves, and they decide, with their layman's knowledge, how they want to fix, or not fix, the road. They don't want a real contractor here, that costs too much. So, when they booted me off, I wrote all the owners in an email, letting them know I expected, as owner of 4 lots out of 50, them to maintain insurance, provide proper accounting, reserve fund, continue to file taxes. And one of them said it sounded like a threat. This is the same board member who said the laws don't apply to them. I told them it was a warning. Like, I warn all the owners shit is sucked up, and nobody else steps up and says, you know, this guy is right. Everyone just remains silent. Keeps paying their bill. Keeps having the road not maintained. So, why are people so stupid and have to learn the hard way? I could expand on all this more. But my real question is, why are people so stupid? It's so sucking stupid, they could fix the road 5 times for what it's going to end up costing everyone in court. Just a rant. Thank you for listening.